I built Princeton University, just like Auschwitz. Actually, just like Auschwitz. Like I say, I built Auschwitz. Well, basically, pretty much Panama, the great big huge pipeline that goes all the way down from Panama all the way down to Brazil and down below. The cities around Cuba, they were planned out, charted, and then they looked for places to put cities, and then they put cities there, and they also did mining. Usually, where there's a mine, they took mineral samples and dug in a ways, and I think there were probably like 30 or 40 um, mine sample. They would bore down about 1,000 feet or something like that. They went around Cuba and Brazil and around the Cape, and they would, like, every 36 miles or every 100 miles, they would do 1,000 foot shaft down to take samples to see what the corings is. And actually, in general, I was just paying for core samples of pretty much just about everywhere around the world. They would drill down about 1,000 feet or so just to see what's there, and then pull it out, and then they would take that to, I think, Germany, or Princeton. Princeton also had another laboratory. There was Princeton. There was also some places in Germany. I had about like 5 or 6 different little mineral labs, and my 1,000 foot core samples. And then they're also, like, I think I also paid for some 36,000 foot core samples or something like that, where they drilled way down there, and they would pull out, and we would look at what exactly that was. Like I think like every 100 feet or every 1,000 feet, they would do a rock sample. Like, they would drill, and then they would take a rock sample, and then they would drill, and then they would take a rock sample, just to see what was down throughout the planet. And there's actually a map with all the different core samples between America and, well, all the way up Brazil, into America, and then also, like I say, around in Europe, and then there's also the one in Egypt, and also all the way up, like every 100,000 miles or so, they would take a core sample, and then they would go, and then they would take another core sample, and then they would go, and basically the whole entire planet, pretty much. Even in Alaska, they were doing core samples down and up, and we even had some ocean. When they started doing the blocking, they would drop the block, and then, and then they would move the ship out, and then they would drop another block, and then they move the ship out and drop another block, and once they got a stable oil platform, and they called that, what Howard Hughes did, that stuff. It's really White Star Lines. It's Lucifer White Star Lines, the White Star Company, basically. That's what I was. That's who I was. That's the company I had, and we were doing drill core sampling using the big old. They had a big old steam. They would have a steam engine, and then they would have a steam drill rig. Where basically they shunt the steam through the drill rig, and they have a big old, like, at least 1 or 2 steam vessels right there, and then they have the steam shunt, and it would shunt through the steam rig, and they would turn the pipe, and that would do the drilling. And the same kind of thing, basically, what they were using at Panama Canal, they were using to do core samples all the way around the Cape. And then, like I said, there was American, and then there was also in Europe, we were doing core samples over there. And also in Egypt, there was also core samples out there of the different minerals and different, what's called. But mostly because I was going to be doing the Panama Canal, and we were going to be shunting the whole river. Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, like, we are gonna swallow a whole river, and it was a big river. I mean, people were like, it's a lot of fresh water, and I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And so we were going to take the whole river down underneath. That's what I love. The whole river goes down underneath the Panama Canal through a screening system. Like I said, it goes down there, turns and goes down, and then it makes another turn, and then it goes through a screen set. I think it's directly underneath the Panama Canal. They dug out this big area, and what they have is directly underneath the Panama Canal, there's this big area, and it's this huge, like, 100-mile, or not 100-mile, but like 10-mile by 10-mile, and it's a screen rig. And then there's individual little screen racks, and what it would do is it would take the there's a couple direct screens that would take out the big particulate matter, and then of course there's a couple trough screens where the water just runs along this great big huge screen, or it would run across this great big huge screen, and the water would slowly drip through or drip past, and it would leave all the hard particulate, any kind of dirt or anything else, and then they could just pull out that screen or whatever, and then they would tap it off or whatever, it's just like you check it like every month or so or something like that. Basically, the water would go through, and then it would drip across these screen racks, and it would filter the water as it goes. And there's a couple rooms like that down in Panama, permanent rigs basically to filter or screen out any kind of dirt, because the water was going to be going to, I was basically going to filter the whole river pretty much. And because there's actually quite a bit of gold and stuff in the river and stuff like that. Anyway, though, but basically it was just an experiment, a really expensive experiment. Anyway, though, but underneath the Panama, there's that great big huge room underneath there, and it goes across, and then it goes up. And then there's kind of like a filter thing as it goes up, because as it goes up, any big solid particulate matter kind of drifts down or whatever. Kind of a little bit, not really, because it's moving so fast, so it didn't really work. Anyway, though, but it goes back up or something like that, and then it goes down again or something like that. But basically, it goes all the way down the Cape. There's like this big, really complicated room over there, in Panama. And huge, because it's the size of the whole river, and of course any overspill would just spill off into the Panama, of course. But and I think there might be some sort of generator stations because it generates some power or something. There are a couple generator stations planned, and then of course there's the generator station because there's two pipelines that go all the way from one ocean to the other ocean. And those were planned those go all the way. And basically, we were making metal out of it the whole entire time. Like every single bit of rock was processed, and then they made all this metal out of it. I mean, they got lots and lots of metal out of Panama, and then going down the Cape. And that's another thing is that we were trying to pick the best routes, kind of thing. If there is a best route, we were going to try and pick which metal. And I think they found pretty good metal in all of it, pretty much. But basically, as we were going down the Cape, there was all these, and they did the test drill rigs things like every 100 mile, every 10,000 miles, I think, or something like that. They did a test hole to pick the route for the what's it called, and also to shunt in air and all that other stuff for the miners, because they would have to be doing. They did what's called holes everything so the people could get out, or people could get in and get to the pipeline, because it's a great big huge pipeline down there. Anyway, though, but that's the Panama, and I own that. And then we had all the farms that were going to be planned and everything for all the cities of Panama and Cuba and everything else. And then there's everything, and then there's all the Europe stuff. So basically, I had all these different things. I mean, we're talking about like 250 million people working nonstop, basically. I mean, it's a huge effort, and getting all the different work schedules and everything like that. I mean, massive effort. So.